Yes. Yes.
No idea.
Let's have a word of prayer together. Father, thank you for this opportunity to be together tonight. Thank you for the blessing of your food. Lord, for the way that you meet the needs that we have at the very essence of our being. Thank you. We pray that as we share tonight, we might be open to your Spirit speaking and ministering to us. Your word will come alive, and we would respond accordingly. Have your way in our midst. There are many needs here tonight. We thank you for meeting those needs in the name of Jesus. Amen. For those of you who had been regular attenders on Wednesday night, this is going to be a little review here at the beginning. Most of you were anyway. But so that's why it's good to review every now and then. And for those of you who are relatively new to our Wednesday night sharing together, I normally take a few minutes at the beginning of Wednesday night to share something either in Hebrew or Chinese. And so this evening, we're going back to the Hebrew a little bit. I have found study of the Hebrew language to be extremely interesting. And some of the intricacies of it are just mind-boggling. I don't want to get carried away with that, but I think that there are some things there that we can share together and just rejoice about. Okay? You don't have to see it. It's not essential to your relationship with God. Okay? It's just kind of interesting. Put it that way. Tonight we're going to take a look at the word Yahweh in Hebrew. And I would share with you that each letter of the Hebrew alphabet has a numerical value that is associated with that letter. It also, they don't have the number 1. For instance, like we write a number 1, or the number 2, like we write a number 2. It's one of the letters of the alphabet is what they use. Also, each letter of the alphabet has a meaning. It's not just the letter A, letter B. It has a meaning beyond just the letter. And so this evening we're going to break down the word Yahweh in Hebrew and see what each of those letters means. Got it? All right, very quickly. Yahweh. In Hebrew, each letter of the alphabet can have a particular meaning. Next one. Yahweh, Yod, the first letter. First letter, Yod, means right hand of power of God, or open right hand of power. Sorry, lefties. Right hand is the right hand of power. Or at least in Hebrew it is. Okay? Richard and Bonnie, right hand of power. Hey, which is the next letter, is revelation. Means revelation. Next letter. Vav, nail. Letter Vav, nail. The last letter, we already have. Hey, revelation or reveal. So now you put those all together, and you have the right hand, according to Pastor Watts, you have the right hand of revelation is the nail revealer. Now you think about that for a little Here is God saying to Moses in the wilderness, I am. That's my name. You tell him, I am has sent you. And that's Yahweh. And if you take the letters of the Hebrew alphabet and their meaning, and you put them together, Yahweh, the right hand of revelation is the nail revealed. And where did the nails go? The hands and feet of Jesus. All right. That's your Hebrew for the night. That's all. Okay.
That's it?
Okay, I have a couple of stories for you tonight to start things out. Dealing with adoption. The stories deal with adoption. The first story is really happened. The second story is an illustration. When I'm finished with the second story, I'm going to encourage you at the table. There is a piece of paper there. Some of you have been reading it already. Has a series of questions on it. Okay? And at the end of the second story, I'm going to ask you to share together in a rather lengthy time of discussion at your table those particular questions for the first break table. Okay? So here we go. The first story is just this story, and you don't have to pay real close attention to it because you don't have any questions to answer about it. Got it? Okay. In the late 19th century, a circuit preacher was making his rounds from one settlement to another on the western frontier of America when he came upon a young Greek immigrant orphan who had been abandoned by a raiding party. The preacher had no choice but to take the orphan boy along. Peter turned out to be an incorrigible kid. No, not this Peter. Sorry, Peter, but that's the story, okay? Peter turned out to be an incorrigible kid, and it became obvious that the preacher could not do his work and provide for him. The preacher heard about a Christian family named Smith that had recently settled near one of his routes. He asked them if they would prayerfully assume responsibility for the boy, and they agreed. The Smith family had a son named Sammy, who was about Peter's age, and they became the best of friends, even though Peter continued to be difficult. They warned the boys not to go near the swamp because everyone believed it was contaminated. Peter would not listen. One day he managed to work his way through the barbed wire fence and go swimming. He must have scratched himself on the rusty fence because he became infected and fell deathly ill. He was quarantined lest others would catch what he had. Peter's life hung in the balance, and Sammy could only watch and pray as he peered through an open door. Then one afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Smith had to make a trip to town to get some supplies. They warned Sammy not to go near Peter, but when they came home, they found the two boys fast asleep in each other's arms. Nobody understands the providence of God. But in this case, Peter got well. Sammy got sick. In fact, Sammy died. The circuit preacher had all but forgotten about Peter when several years later he was making his rounds near the Smith home. Recalling the incident, he decided to make a visit to see what happened to the little orphan Greek boy. As he approached the farm, he recognized Mr. Smith, but he did not recognize a young man by his side. By the way, whatever happened to that incorrigible kid I dropped off a few years back? He asked. Mr. Smith reached up and put his arms around the shoulders of the young man and said, I want you to meet Peter Smith. We adopted him. According to another Peter, the apostle, the same act of grace has happened to every believer. 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 9 and 10. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, holy nation, a people for God's own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. For you once were not a people, but now you are the people of God. You had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. Book of Colossians, chapter 3, verses 9 through 11. This is from the Message Bible. You're done with that old life. It's like a filthy set of ill-fitting clothes you've stripped off and put in the fire. Now you're dressed in a normal wardrobe. Every item of your new life is custom made by the Creator with his label on it. I like that. All the old fashions are now obsolete. Words like Jewish and non-Jewish, religious and irreligious, insider and outsider, uncivilized and uncouth, slave and free, mean nothing. From now on, everyone is defined by Christ. Everyone is included in Christ. So here's the story now that you're going to answer some questions. So now you need to pay attention. A newly adopted child found himself in a big mansion. His new father whispered in his ear, this is yours, and you have a right to be here. I have made you a joint heir with my only begotten son. He paid the price that set you free from your old taskmaster who was cruel and condemning. I purchased this for you because I loved you. The young boy could not help but question the incredible gift. This seems too good to be true. What did I do to deserve this? He wondered. I have been a slave to other people's expectations all my life, and I have never measured up. What have I done to earn such a privilege? The boy was deeply grateful, however, and began to explore all the rooms in the mansion. He tried out some of the tools and appliances. Many other adopted children lived in the mansion as well, and the boy began to form relationships with his new brothers and sisters. He especially enjoyed the buffet, from which they freely ate. Then it happened. While turning away from the buffet table, he knocked over a stack of glasses, and a valuable pitcher crashed to the floor and broke. Suddenly, he began to think, you stupid kid, you clumsy kid, you will never get away with this. What right do you have to be here anyway? You better hide before someone finds out, but because they will surely throw you out. At first, he was caught up with the wonder of living in the mansion with a whole new family and a loving father. But now, he was confused. Old CDs laid down in early childhood began to play again in his mind. He was filled with guilt and shame. Self-condemning thoughts continued. Who do you think you are? Some kind of privileged character? You do not belong here anymore. You belong in the basement. My old taskmaster was right about me. I don't belong here because I have done nothing to earn it, and I failed again. With his mind filled with such thoughts, the boy descended into the basement. The cellar was dreary, dark, despairing. The only light came from the open door at the top of the long stairs from which he came. He heard his father calling for him, but he was too ashamed to answer. The boy was surprised to find others in the basement, too. Upstairs, people talked with each other and joined in to carry out daily projects that were fun and meaningful. But in the basement, nobody talked. They were too ashamed. Although no one liked it there, most felt that the basement was where he or she really belonged. Each one did not see how he or she could ever walk in the light again. If he or she did, others would see their imperfections. Occasionally, one of the new brothers or sisters remaining upstairs would come to the door and encourage those in the basement to come back up. That brother or sister would even announce a place was prepared for everyone who would return. Some brothers and sisters, though, were not very helpful. They would scold everyone in the basement, which only worsened the situation. Not everyone had the same reason for staying in the basement. Some, like the boy, thought they deserved to be there, that they had been given a chance but did not measure up to the expectations of their new father. Others did not think they could climb the stairs. The task seemed impossible, even if they mustered up the strength to try. The staircase of expectation only grew longer and steeper. They could not reach the top by their own strength and resources, and they were too proud to ask for help. Some of the basement dwellers would muster the courage to go upstairs for a short time, but they never stayed long enough to resolve their conflicts and learn the truth that would enable them to remain. So they just went back down to the basement. Others stopped trying because they feared the possibility of being rejected. They would think, if they only knew the real me, they would surely throw me out. I can't be a hypocrite or pretend anymore. I'm not worthy of their love. When the newly adopted child first arrived in the basement, he groped around in the darkness trying to find a way to survive. The longer he stayed, the more the memory of what it was like to live upstairs faded. Hope of ever returning diminished. Those old CDs from early childhood caused him to question the love of his new father. He began to wonder whether he was ever actually really adopted. The noise of people having fun upstairs irritated him. He remembered the light upstairs being warm and inviting, but now, whenever that basement door opened, the light seemed penetrating and revealing. He recalled hearing his adopted father say that most people love the darkness rather than light, for their deeds were evil. The boy made a few half-hearted attempts to return to the light. But eventually he found a dark corner to live in. To survive, he ate grubs and moss off the damp walls. Then one day a shaft of light penetrated his mind and reason returned. He began to think, why not throw myself on the mercy of this person who calls himself my father? What do I have to lose? Even if he makes me eat the crumbs that fall from the table, it would be better than this. So, risking the possibility of rejection, he climbed the stairs, faced his father with the truth of what he had done. Father, he said, I knocked over some glasses. I broke a pitcher. Without saying a word, his father took him by the hand and led him into the dining room. To the boy's utter amazement, his father had prepared a banquet. Welcome home, son, his father said. There is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Ephesians chapter 1, verses 4 through 6 says, oh, the deep, deep love of Jesus, and the matchless grace of God. In love, he predestined us to adoption as sons through Jesus Christ to himself, according to the kind intention of his will, to the praise of the glory of his grace, which he freely bestowed on us in the Lord. others unconverted never find themselves in the basement of rejection and self-condemnation. In order to comprehend our place in the family of God, we have to understand the whole gospel and what Jesus came to do for us. So I want to encourage you right now. Take quite a little bit of time this evening. Talk at your table about these questions. Have you ever felt as if you were living in the basement while other believers were enjoying the fellowship of God? Did you get that? Have you ever felt like you were living in the basement while other believers were enjoying the fellowship of God and others? Describe how you felt. How did you or do you feel toward other believers? When did your basement experience happen? Why did it happen? And there's a whole lot of other questions you can answer to. But go ahead. Talk about it. First of all, Jesus could be considered an illegitimate child. Think about it. Not in our society, in his society. Think about it. His mother Mary could have been stoned to death. Think about it. Jesus said, think about it. Jesus' earthly father was not wealthy. All indications that he got by. Hand to mouth. Think about it. Jesus' family tree was the tribe of Levi, not the priest, not the priesthood family, not a member of the priesthood. Jesus had no social advantage in either the Jewish or Roman communities. None. No social advantage. None. Are you getting the picture? He had no great physical appearance. I think that the pictures of Jesus that we have today are very nice. Okay? They're very nice. And very interesting. I suspicion Jesus did not look like those pictures. Isaiah says he did not have any kind of physical appearance that would appeal. Right? So, physical appearance, zip. Social status, zip. In fact, way down the ladder. In the process of his ministry, he brought nothing but trouble upon himself from the establishment, from the religious establishment. He brought nothing but trouble. Are you getting the picture of Jesus? Okay? Understand? Constant abuse. Constant rejection. That was his life. I do have some questions about that there for you to discuss. You can go back and the thought that you were holding from your other discussion, you can pursue that. Or you can move on and decide, did Jesus have any sense of worth? Now, come on, you think about it, what we just described. Did Jesus have any sense of worth? What was his purpose? His source of his purpose in life? And of course, big question. How do we find a sense of worth and purpose in this life? Social status? Establishment? Wealth? Appearance? And yet the Bible says he's our example.